Are you ready for some creative scrappy quilting? Well, I have an idea for you I think you're going to love. Here's a surprise you can add to your next quilt. It's quick and easy. It uses up lots of scraps. You're going to love this technique, and I can't wait to show you how to do this. I'm Leah Louise from Inspired Quilting by Leah Louise, and I love changing up my quilts, and I love using lots of fabrics and mixing it all together to create something beautiful. And I'm going to share that with you today. So get your scraps, pull everything together, and let's start quilting. Here's a quick view of what we're going to make today. This rose is absolutely wonderful. The French rose is a fun pattern, and I'm making a pillow top, but it's just as easy to make a quilt. A baby quilt would be perfect. Or you can make little placemats or table toppers with just the roses. It just is so versatile. And there is a pattern. I'm going to put the link down below, and it's really inexpensive if you're interested. So check it out, and all the supplies that I use are also going to be listed below. But I am really excited to share this with you. Wait till you see how easy this goes together. Here's the template that's included in the pattern, and you see that there's 5 different layers, which are essentially the petals of the flower. And we also have 2 layers for each of the leaves. Now, if you're just making one, you can cut each of these out. Take your template, make a copy, trace over it, and then cut your individual rows. But if you're going to make multiples and you want to use different fabrics, check this out. I want to show you how to make this fast and easy to use this pattern. And the quickest way I've found is to square these off so that I know what size fabric I'm going to need to cut each of these individual layers. So what I do is I make 2 copies of the pattern, and I just make black and white copies, and I'm just putting paper underneath because I'm using a Sharpie and I don't want it to bleed through onto my mat. So I'm first going to take a ruler to the center square, and I'm going to place it on 2 sides where it's just maybe 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And then I'm going to kind of do it this way and this way so I create a square. Now, when I measure this, this is 2.5 that way by 2 3/4. So my first square I want to measure at 2 3/4 or more. Now I'm going to get my next one and do the second round, because you see this square kind of cuts into my second one. So by having 2 sheets, I can alternate how I'm going to do this. And I find from this point it's easier to use a larger ruler. Okay, so I am going to be approximately 1/8 of an inch from here and from here. So again, we're doing round 2. So I have that line in. I'm going to put this line in, and it comes to about 4 inches. And I'm going to take it just a little bit more. And then I'll turn it so I can do the next 2 sides. And I'm going to come out to this edge, and I want to come out to this edge. So see, we're doing the second round. And this is probably the easiest way for me, because I can then cut my square just where I need it and not have to cut a lot of pieces individually. So this is a bit quicker. And so I allow again that 1/8 of an inch from the edge to the line that I'm drawing. And then that way I know I have enough room all the way around. So this measures 4 1/4 by 4 inches. Well, I will cut this at 4 1/4. Now I'm going to come back, and so this is 1, 2. Now I'm going to do the third one. And I just find how the ruler lays on it. I'll kind of line it up as if it were a square. And I'm going to add a little bit more there and there. And let's see, I think I'll go this way. So I'm going to draw my line here draw my line here, and I want to come out to the edge of that number 3 round and kind of line it up there so it's sort of square. And we'll come down this way, just like that. And then I want to bring it this way. So I'm going to line it up there. And this isn't critical alignment. I'm just doing it so it's sort of squarish. So I know when I cut my fabric that if I cut a square this size, it's going to be what I need. And this measures 5 1/4 by almost 5 1/2. So I am going to cut this third one right here at 5 1/2. And then this one, I'm going to go out to row 4. So I've done 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to do row 4. And I finished row 4 here, and I have row 5. So I have a 2 3/4, a 4 1/4, a 5 1/2, a 7, and an 8 1/2. So that's just going to help me to get my blocks cut, because I want to make 4 of these in order to create the large pillow that I want. So let me go ahead and get my fabric and show you how that's going to go together. As with any quilting project, there are always a multitude of ways to do this, and I'm going to show you what I have found to be the easiest way for me. So I have my 2 patterns, templates laid out, and I'm going to begin cutting. Now, it's easiest to work from the outside or the outer petal first and work in. I'm going to show you why. Because I started cutting these and I'm thinking, I'm getting so close to the edge, why do I want to start in the middle? There's no reason. So you just cut your biggest square out of the pattern that you made, and the biggest square here. And so now you have these 2 pieces with all your patterns. Now we're going to start from the outside in, and the outer side is going to be a dark layer. I want that dark to go against the background, because I have this background here, and it's sort of a pastel with some gold and yellow and pinky purple colors. So that works out really good with what I'm working with. But I want to show you this. I have this, which is a damask, and it's the alternating stripe, and the way they weave it creates this really cool pattern. And I'm making this for my granddaughter. She has decided, now this is my 10-year-old going on 11-year granddaughter, and she has decided that it's time for a big girl room. And we're going to put away the baby thing. She said that she was saying her prayers and God told her that she needed to make this change. So she was showing me the room, and it really is sweet what she's done to change it. And of course, Mom and Dad helped her move the bed and all that sort of thing. And I thought having this pillow would really brighten up her room and would just be an adorable touch, especially with some more sophisticated fabric. And that's what I think of when you see this kind of a style fabric. So I'm going to start with my darks. And so I have fabrics pulled. I'll set these aside for now. But I also found these florals. These are going to be the center of my block, of my rows. And I have these fun pieces, and I have some others, but I have another plan for this. And look at this. We have some fun red ones here and some big pink ones. So there's a lot of options, but you know what else I saw? There were leaves on here. So I started pulling out some green fabric to make leaves, but oh my goodness, I will just use these. And won't they look wonderful? So there's a bunch here, and there's a bunch here. And this is all fabric that it's scrappy fabric that was donated to me or has been collected over the years and I've never used, because I had the greatest plan of making the floral watercolor quilt, and that never worked for me. I didn't quite get that. So I'm going to set these aside. So that's all going to be in the last step. Now these are about the darkest pieces I have in larger squares. And it's one of my favorite collections. It's the Fuchsia Spectrum from the Fat Quarter Shop. And there are 12 different fabrics in here. Let me show you, because I love this so much. I actually just bought a new one. And here's what all the colors look like. Aren't they beautiful? And you've got some wonderful graphics and some tone on tone, and you get all the way down to these really dark, deep colors. So I may draw from this as needed, but I do want to use this up first. All right, so there's my plan, and I have some lights and mediums, and I'm just going to start laying out 4 blocks or 4 florals, and I'll sort of layer them together and see what they need and how I like them. So let me get some squares cut and I'll show you where we go from here. So I've selected my first 4 fabrics and I really like these colors. Now this is a solid one, and solids work too because they create a great contrast between the layers of fabric. So I'm going to put all these together here, and I'm going to make sure I've got everything squared up because I don't want to come up short on any of my petals. Although if you do, it is an easy fix because all you have to do is come back in and, you know, change a curve a little bit or make a little dip. So there is no right or wrong. These are incredibly forgiving. So the larger size is going to be 8.5. And you see, if I go this way, I'm wasting fabric on the end. Yes, I worry about 1/2-inch pieces of fabric. So what I'm going to do is start right here, and I will cut a straight edge just so I have what I want to work with, and I'll set these aside. Now, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can do this with scissors, put some pins in and cut it. You can do it with a large one, and well, I don't want to use this on paper. This is my sharp one. So what I do is I like the small one. When you're doing curves, the 28 millimeter is great. You can see it's a little bit smaller, but what's nice is you can manage it easier, and it makes turns much easier than it would be using the large one. So I'm just going to hold myself here. It can be beneficial to either pin this or put a weight in the middle. Here, I've got something right here. Here we go. And this is just an adorable little pin receptacle, a little catch-all with a pin cushion, and I just think it's adorable. So holding that there is going to keep things from moving around, particularly the paper. So I'm going to start over here. I'll move that a little bit so I have some maneuvering room, and I'll start off the edge and just work my way, and I'm going to come around the flower. And if you have to take off little pieces, that's fine, and if you need to go around, but what I'm going to try and do is just follow that curve all the way around. And because we have extra layers, we need to remember to add pressure, which I may not be doing very well. I didn't do a good job here putting some pressure on there, because this is a nice new blade. If you're in the market for some rotary blade, replacement blades, check the link down below. There's a sale right now at the Fabric Hut, and their blades are great. I've had really good luck with them. Okay, so I kind of put my piece to the side so I can hold over here, but that's going to keep this paper from shifting. So I'll come in again and work my way around and kind of come out here and then swing around this way. And you can see you don't have to be exactly on the mark. This allows a lot of forgiveness, and we are just going to go around this last little part right here, just like that. Okay, and you can see it's not exact, but that's okay. I cut a little too much here and I left a little bit extra there, and that is not even a problem. So we'll take this off. And now, oh, see, I didn't trim that in enough. So what I'm going to do is just take this and kind of come in a little bit and make a curve. And look at that. It's perfect. Not a problem. So don't sweat the small stuff. Don't worry about those details. But what I am going to do now is start creating my 4 piles so that as I create my flowers and cut each layer, I can decide which flower it's going to go on. So let me go ahead and get set up from there, and I'll show you how the rest of this goes together. And here's my 4th layer. I have the fabric selected here, and I think they're going to be pretty. I laid my pattern down and I cut this. So I have my 7-inch square, and I made it just a little bit extra so I have some overhang on the edges. And I'm going to take this, actually, I was going to pin this to show you, I think on the smaller squares, it does make more sense to pin it, because trying to set something in the middle without it moving around can be a challenge. So I'm just going to come off the fabric, or off the pattern here, and just sort of come around and just continue all the way around. And the only reason I go off the edge of the paper is because it does start to buckle. And it also allows me to turn, so I kind of do each corner as I go, and then I want to make sure I come in here, because I think that's what I forgot on the last one, is to do that indent. And just come around. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get these laid out, and from there, we've got a couple more rows. I'll get those done and show you how this will all go together. Before I start doing any quilting, I'm going to get everything basted. And I'm making 4 blocks for the front of the pillow. And so I have 4 individual squares, and I have my batting all set to go. And I cut these, because of the fabric that I had available to me, I cut these at 10.5 inches. And then I cut this at about 9.5, so it's just a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to put a bit of spray baste in the middle, which will hold things right where it needs to go. And I'm leaving a bigger seam allowance to the outside because I'm going to do some frayed edges. I'm using the rag edging for the pillow, which makes it easy. And so once I do this, I'm ready to do the quilting of each of my blocks, and I will place the finished flower. But first, I want to sew these layers together. And what I want to show you here is how I go about doing that. So I'm going to decide just how I want to place it on here. Let's see. And that looks good, just like that. And so what I'll do is I'm just going to open this, spray baste it in the center, because that's all I need to hold it in place. And you can see, while the edges may be loose, it holds it really well together. So I have that one. Then we'll take the next, and let's see what we have here. I think we'll kind of go about there. Lay that one on. And this just makes it easier to sew. There we go. And it's just a quick method to do this. Now, I always put something down. In this case, I generally have an old quilt around that I use for when I'm spray basting. And what I'm going to do on these little ones is just spray directly on the piece. And I'll set that one in place. And this all is machine washable, so this washes out after the fact. And it doesn't affect the fabric, the texture of it, like interfacing will. And then I have this cute little little flower here. Whoop, that edge wants to roll up. How do I want to put that? I want to put that there. I think so. That works pretty good. Just the littlest bit. And let's see, I think I've got just about that much. And I'll use a pin for that. I don't want to put extra I can't say it, extra spray based, because then it'll get all over the front. Not that that's a problem, but it will get sticky. And that's that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this quilted, or not quilted, but actually sewn together in layers. And then I will apply that onto my quilted blocks where I have, this is all set to go. And then I'll get this pieced and we'll make a pillow. But I'm really excited about how sweet these are looking. The first thing I did is go through and sew around the edges of each of the petals. And I do that ahead of time just because I think it's easier to manage this way than having it on the backing block. Now, I did one of these. You can see this is in white thread for the lighter block. And then this one I use is sort of a variegated pink. So you can, use whatever color works for you. I just wanted to try them both and see how that came together. And so what I'll do is get this kind of, let's see where I want to go, lined up on my block and use my spray base. And this is the Oda 505 temporary fabric adhesive, and it does a great job. I'll have links for everything that I use in this video down below. And there we are. Get that on there, and you just see how well that works. So let me do the next one. I want to go this way. I kind of like this one. Make sure they're not all going in the same direction. All right, so then once I get to this point, I'm going to come back and quilt them. And what I've done is I've used a second line. So you can see on these initial ones, I quilted about 1/8 of an inch from the outer edge. And that just works really well to hold it in place. This isn't like raw edge applique where you can sew right on the edge, because this will fray. There's no interfacing, there's no steam-a-seam, there's nothing in there to hold that fabric together. So you can see it'll fray, which it already is a little bit, and that's okay. That's the look we're going for. So I'm not concerned about that at all. Get those threads out. So I've got the single, I start here, and then I want to show you. So when I come around, get the light in there better, I just come right around here and move up. So I don't stop and start. Let's see, where's this one? There we go. And see where this one comes right up along here. So I just cross over the petals and just work my way through. Now what I'm going to do is come back and do it on the outside. So where this is all done on the inside of the edge, the next round will be on the outside. So that just gives it a little more of a quilted look, a lot of stability. It makes it really sturdy. I know this will probably get washed a lot, and so I want to make sure that it holds up well. So I went through every row, and I did the outer edge, well, actually just outside this edge here, and then I ran another one kind of through the middle on these larger petals, just to kind of hold everything and give it a little more dimension. And so here's the other one that I've done, and this one only has the outer edges done. So now I need to go back in and do these inner pieces, and then I will stitch them here. I will quilt them right on to the block. And then the last thing I did is I took a 1/4 inch, basically an echo stitching. So I used the pink to go around the outer edge just to define the flower. And then I did that echo quilting around the entire flower as well. But do you see what I forgot? I forgot my leaves. I'm going to have to get creative in order to make that work. But I can do this, and I will come up with a solution for you, just in case you do the same thing. All right, let me go ahead and get these finished. Well, since I showed you how not to do it, I figure it's a good idea to show you how to do it. And what I'm going to do is add the leaf on. So this is all spray basted. Nothing is sewn down yet. And I cut my leaf out from a piece of fabric. And I'm going to hold this thread aside so it doesn't get knotted. And let's see, put my needle in the middle. And then I'm just going to start sewing. And like I said, when we do this, you want to be about 1/8 of an inch in from the outer edge. Come all the way out. And what I usually do is I'll turn and kind of do a blunt stitch at the end and then come back this way. And I just need to cut my threads as I go, otherwise I end up with a bunch of them at the end. Now I'm just going to sew back across here and do the same little outline. Just like that. That's all there is to it. And this goes pretty easily. And I am just using a olive colored thread, just something that I happen to have on hand. Again, it's a scrappy quilt, so I use my scrappy pieces and use up everything I have. Now, I have 2 leaves here I'm going to put together, so I'm going to show you what I'll do. I'm going to sew the first one, then I'll come back over and do the second one on top. Move everything out of the way as I'm sewing. I kind of want to keep that in the general vicinity so I can get it back in the right place. Okay, now what I'm going to do come over to here and sew this little guy in place. The reason I decided to overlap 2 leaves, which is not something I generally do, is when I was cutting these leaves out of the fabric, this was really light and it was getting lost with that light background, but this little dark leaf seemed to help. Kind of give it a little more attention. And just go around the outer edge. Very easy. Just take your time. You notice I don't even need to wear my quilting gloves. This is very easy to manipulate. It's easy to move around. Okay, so now we're finished with our green. Let me get my pink thread in and I will do the inside for you. And as you can see, the initial stitching is in place. sewing all the layers together and spray basted down. I'm going to do the stitching around the outer edge and then kind of add a little bit to the loops. So I'm going to start right here, kind of work my way to this edge and just go around it a little bit. And just use your fingers to kind of guide it along. And when you need to turn, just go slowly. Keep your threads cut, because otherwise they will get twisted. All right, now what I'm going to do here is kind of come through the middle, and then I'll come to the outer edge. And all I'm doing is emphasizing the curve of the petals. And basically what I'm doing is splitting the difference. So I'm not exactly going down the center, but I'm not all the way to the outside edge either. And then once I come around full circle, then I'm going to do this outer edge here. And so I've gone around the edge, and I'm just going to come over to this point where I can squeeze through, and now I'm going to go through the middle of the petal. Now, all this additional sewing, quilting, isn't really necessary, but I like the look that it gives, sewing everything down, and plus it makes it a bit more secure. Okay, so I'm right here on the edge, so now I'm going to come to the outside. And you can see how fast you can go. Everything stays put right where it needs to be. And I'm going to join up with that thread, but then I'm going to also pass right alongside and start hitting the middle of these. And it just adds a little more dimension to just the flat fabric right there. And I'll join up on this one and just come right out to the outer edge. Whoops. And you don't want to turn too tight because the fabric will tuck over. Luckily, I didn't catch it with my needle. If I did, all I would have to do is stop sewing, cut the threads, and just start back, about a 1/4 inch past so that I can get a secure thread. So now I'll just continue. Now I'm going along the outer edge before I do this middle. I just want to secure this so I don't have any pieces flipping around. And then when I join up here, I'm just going to pass across out to the outer edge. And pull all these extra little threads out. Whoops. There's a green one I missed. I don't want that sticking out. And just continue around. Now I'm going to take the red or the pink thread on top of the leaves because I've already gone around the leaf in green. And then there we are. So I'm just going to follow along about 1/4 of an inch along where I've already stitched and then stitch in place. And that's it. And you see how easy that was. It goes really fast. Now we are going to do one more step. We're going to do the white echo stitching around the edge. So let me get that thread together and I'll be right back. So I have my white thread in and I'm going to start just a little bit before the leaf, take a couple stitches and then turn, and then I'm just going to do my 1/4 inch all the way around. And just take it slow and work your way around these tighter points. And then once you get back to the flower, it goes pretty quick. And after trimming your threads, just finish and join up to where you started and stitch right on top. And then stitch in place a couple times and that'll secure your thread and everything's going to stay put. And that is that. How simple is it? These are beautiful little roses. I think it's going to make a great pillow, but they also would make a fantastic quilt. And here it is finished. Look at those pretty little roses and leaves. Oh my goodness, I love it. I think it is fabulous. I'm so happy with how this turned out. And I think you will enjoy making it yourself. Now there is a pattern for this, and I will put that link down below. The pattern is for the roses, but also for hearts, because it was done initially for Valentine's. But this is great. It's such a fun spring quilt because you can do the colors that you want. Now I went with pink because that's the bedroom that we're matching, but all the spring flowers and the floral fabrics that you can find, oh my goodness, how gorgeous would that be? Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you're interested in learning how to make a pillow, I do have a video tutorial on how to make a quick envelope pillow, because that's what I'm going to do with this. I put a piece of this fabric, the backing, on the inside as well, and that's going to allow the pillow form to go in and out easily without getting caught on any of the batting, because that batting can make it difficult. But it's finished and I love it, and I just am so happy with how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're ready to make your own. Thank you so much for following along. As always, it's my pleasure to be here. Have a great rest of your day.